Hey, Kevin Guthrie here from Radio Newark. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, whenever you are listening to this. Welcome to another one of our mental health and, at the moment, COVID-19 podcasts. I hope you're well. I hope you are adjusting and rolling with the changes that are happening. I said a few weeks ago that we would have some guests on, and we have another guest in the studio today. Well, not in the studio today. I'm sat in my rather sparse office at the moment, and my guest, I believe, is sat at home. Welcome, Leanne Monger.
Hello, Kevin. How are you?
I'm good. Besides the blanket that's sat on my knee to try and deaden some of the sound in my office, but I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. I'm a little warm. I've been sat in the home office all day and come out into the conservatory and it's boiling. But I'm good.
Yeah, it's the nature of conservatories. Thank you so much for offering to step forward and record one of these podcasts.
You're very welcome.
I know that you're a little bit apprehensive. I don't know what you thought I was going to do with you, but there was a few kind of apprehensions there, wasn't there?
Well, yeah, never know. Where are you going to go?
It's pre-recorded. If you don't like it, I'll cut it all. So,
Plus, to act to follow, I'd just like to add as well, I did watch one of your podcasts with Josh Burkett.
Josh.
Thought, how am I going to follow that? Local hero.
Little Josh. Bless him. That was an amazing story, wasn't it?
Brilliant. Really good.
And the thing is, it's not really about what Josh did, and what Josh did was incredible, but it's not about that, and it's not about following. This is about people's own personal experiences of COVID and Corona and how it's affected everybody, because I think sometimes the reason I wanted to do this particular set of podcasts is because I think people have been stuck in their own little kind of kingdoms and their own little bubbles, and there hasn't been a lot of cross conversation around how much people have struggled and the brick walls that people have struggled. And I've seen loads of it, absolutely loads. So I know it's happening because I see it happening and people tell me about it. But apart from that, people don't talk about it. So that's why I wanted to do this particular set of podcasts, to help us just share a little bit. And you stepped forward. Didn't you?
I did.
So you're sat at home now. Well, actually, tell people, before we continue, tell people what you do work-wise.
Work-wise, so I work for Newark and Sherwood District Council. I manage a number of services. Yeah. They're mainly focused around sort of people, communities and well-being, essentially. And given that well-being sits within my directorate, and this is the community project and is all about well-being, I thought I'd step forward and share my story.
Oh, thank you. That's brilliant. Tell me why there's those birds in your background. That's
sorry.
So cool. That's all right. You could listen.
I like bird song these days. Never used to hear it so much.
No. Isn't that strange? I don't know whether there's more bird song around or whether we're just hearing it. I can't quite make my mind up on that.
No.
But there is a lot around. No, I don't want you to silence the birds. Leave them singing. Don't shoo them away. So when I put a shout out and you step forward, so you said earlier that you wanted to share and kind of share your experiences. How has your experience of COVID been?
Up and down. I think, like most people, it has that analogy of the Corona coaster, isn't there? It's very much felt like that.
Yeah.
Both from a work perspective and personally. So from a work perspective, it's been really busy, really intense, quite exhausting at times, because I've been leading the council's humanitarian response to coronavirus, which has equally been very rewarding when I hear the personal stories of people that we're helping on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah.
But of course, I'm also a mum to 2 girls, husband self-employed and furloughed. I've got a dog. I'm shielding because of health as well. So all of that has meant that, like most people, you're just having to adapt to a lot of change, uncertainty, and I think that can make you feel quite fearful and overwhelmed, can't it? So certainly I've had very, very testing days, But then really good days where I've certainly tried throughout all of this to practice gratitude. Most mornings I've still got a lot to be really thankful for. And given that I manage areas in my day job around sort of homelessness and a whole range of other services, you know, I'm really quite lucky. So yeah, I do try and practice gratitude, and that helps put sort of the mindset in the right place for me. It's different for everybody, isn't it? But that works for me.
No, I love gratitude, and it's always it's an exercise that I talk to my clients about a lot. And some really struggle with it because they'll go, well, I haven't got anything to be grateful for. And for me, when we look at gratitude, it's about waking up breathing. If you wake up breathing, you've got something to be grateful for. And if you wake up breathing, you're still relatively healthy, then you've got something to be grateful for. There's your number one. Yeah. You know what I mean? A lot of people have a roof over their head. When I look at gratitude, I look at things like a little bit of food in the cupboard, towels, hot water, a roof over my head. Just really simple, basic things that some people don't get. So it can be really powerful. Yeah,
the same for me, because again, you know, in the day job, you know, I come across and work with people that are suffering all sorts of different challenges, and you know, a lot of my colleagues have been working on bringing rough sleepers in off the streets as well throughout this time. So, you know, when I practice gratitude, it is about those small things that, you know, like you say, being here to, you know, embrace a new day. So yes, I agree with you there, Kevin.
I think it was really easy for a lot of people in the beginning to go, oh my goodness, what's happening? And get really hunkered down and go, because there was this impending threat. And at the time that we started to lock down, it was kind of out there a little bit. It wasn't so much here. And I think as time's gone on, people have settled into new routines and new habits, but it was a real threat in the beginning. But when we do something like gratitude, we switch it. We literally change the mindset, and we proactively, is the word I'm looking for, switch the mindset, don't we? We just move it around.
That's the idea.
What was your heaviest moment?
My heaviest moment, I suppose, you know, it was in the very beginning, because I think going into COVID, I wasn't particularly at my best anyway. I was challenged. I've got Crohn's, so I was sort of dealing with that, and I think in the beginning, it was also realising that you know, when you're running at such a fast pace as well, that you know, I was setting up a new team at work. Like you say, trying to do it while you're home working with remotely. Children at home. You know, trying to come to terms with new technology. You know, we've been part of the biggest sort of pilot of home working, haven't we? Which has been great, by the way. But sort of long hours on conference calls and things, and it felt quite overwhelming. And I think the biggest lesson I learned from that is that you know, I never really prioritised self-care. You're just trying to carry on, be all things to all people, you know, trying to you know, support the kids with the homeschooling as well as doing stuff at work. So I think that was hard, as well as shielding. I have to say that's been really difficult to do.
When you look at what you were talking about, then there's so many challenges on so many different levels, and I think for a lot of people it has felt like the challenges just kept coming. So so we're going into lockdown. For you, work-wise, you have to work out how that's thing going to work. The whole council have to work out how that's going to work. But then you've got two girls that may be nervous, maybe anxious, may have their own stuff going on, and you're just leading as a mother, leading as a leader. Do you know what I mean? But then I've seen just recently And I should say, because it'll be a few weeks before this goes out, we are just at the point where we've just had Super Saturday. I cannot believe that the press did that and called it Super Saturday. We've just had Super Saturday, so that's at the point we are when we are recording this. But the challenges just keep coming because I'm guessing next on your agenda might be, okay, so we're unfolding. How do we now get people back into work? How do we manage that? How do we get the girls back into school and manage all that side of it? And it just keeps going, doesn't it?
It does. So from a personal level, one of my girls is transitioning. She's in year 6, so she'll be changing schools. So yeah, having to sort of reassure her when we don't really know how that's going to work. And yeah, one of my girls does struggle with anxiety. So sort of managing that. But yeah, from a work perspective, absolutely, you know, the economic recovery from this is going to be massive. And it's going to be with us for some time. But, you know, my colleagues at Newark and Sherwood, you know, are working really hard. You know, they've just been brilliant, whether that's been working with myself on humanitarian assistance or supporting businesses, paying out the grants that we've done to businesses. You know, Helen, who I know you know, sort of doing all the wellbeing at work stuff with colleagues. And, you know, on top of that, we've had the brilliant sort of community and voluntary sector, sort of doing all that they've done, which we couldn't have supported the households that we have done and enabled them to shield and save lives without all of their fantastic work. So if I may just say a massive thank you, actually, because it's been a great effort by everybody that's been involved. And I do think I need to talk to Matt actually about some sort of community awards or something that can sort of look at how we can recognise actually some of the brilliant stuff that's come out of this, as much as it's been testing.
Yeah, I think that would be a really beautiful celebration, because you're quite right. A lot of people really stepped up and just stepped forward really naturally into a role of, come on, we've got this, we can do this, and then just continue doing that. Keep it all going.
There's been sort of fantastic sort of neighbourliness, hasn't there, within communities and people stepping forward, and even in work. We've, you know, in the new team that I had to pull together, we had some sort of young apprentices, colleagues from different areas across the council, you know, that work in sort of the Palace Theatre or you know, waste or the leisure centres. They've all come and volunteered the time to do tasks that are completely new to them. But it was all about, you know, that sense of community and public sector at its best, really, sort of coming together just to help sort of our residents, really. Yeah,
absolutely. You mentioned the grants from Newark and Sherwood earlier, and my understanding is that Newark and Sherwood were one of the first to pay out, and the speed that they paid out was just incredible. So for all of those businesses that were really struggling and really panicking, all of a sudden these grants came through and everybody kind of went, okay, we might be able to do this. So it was just incredible when that happened. I'm involved quite heavily in the business community, and I know a lot of people said that. I heard them say that they were just amazing. So
colleagues were fantastic in the work they did, and you're right. We were one of the fastest, and you know, I think it was all hands to the pump. Colleagues were working sort of round the clock to make that happen, but it was just really important to make sure that we did that, like you say, for our business community who have been hit really hard by all of this. As I say, you know, my husband's got his own business, and you know, it's tough, isn't it? Sort of. So yeah.
What do you see, or what do you predict moving forward? Because you said earlier that you suspect that this will just keep rolling, and I agree with you, because I think the consequences of what's just happened over the last 3 or 4 months will just keep going, and not so much for me it's not so much the financial implications, which are just mammoth, but I think personal implications as well for people, because I do suspect that for a lot of people that have gone, okay, I've got this, all of a sudden they're just going to crash. They're just going to crash. As soon as there's any kind of ease, they will just drop and go, right, I need to stop. I just need to stop for a while. So I think moving forward, there's going to be a lot of, again, assistance, support. For you, what do you think people will need?
So from the work that we've done so far on supporting people throughout this pandemic, it's mainly been around food and medication.
Right.
But we're seeing increasingly through sort of talking to our partners, sort of around citizens' advice and things, in terms of debt. They're experiencing people coming to them with issues around debt and unemployment. So I think they're going to be key, alongside social isolation and well-being, and mental well-being in particular, are things that I think will be future priorities for us to sort of look at. So I would say they are going to be some of the key challenges. And what's important for us is, we are not here to just sort of run the services. It's about working in partnership with the community and voluntary sector and other partners that deliver some fantastic work, to just see how we can work better together and what we can do in terms of supporting those families and individuals that may come to us in the future. Because, like you say, we're gonna hit different people at different times. And I know the government guidelines in terms of looking at test, track and trace, and if we need to step up shielding again in the future, if there happens to be a need to do that, it says contact your local authorities. So we very much see ourselves as being there for residents, and to signpost to services that are out there. And it's about making sure that those in the voluntary and community sector have got some stability going forward.
Absolutely, they're key, aren't they?
Massively.
Absolutely. What's been your biggest lesson? What's been your biggest learning?
So I think, as I said earlier, it was about sort of realising that I never really prioritised self-care in all of this. So I think for me, it was about investing in yourself, really. It's really important, I think, to just take that time out. And to take your leave if you can, and that's not you sort of slacking. That is actually investing in yourself so that you can better help others. So I would say that's been my biggest thing. And I've certainly, through my love of learning, started practicing mindfulness and yoga and other bits and bobs, just to try and prioritise some time for myself.
Good. I think it's hard for some people to be in the middle of a pandemic and then come to the realization that actually they need something. They need some oxygen, is the analogy that I use, their own oxygen. And it's really hard then to go, no, I need this, for fear that people are going to say, that's so selfish. We're in the middle of a pandemic and you need some yoga time. And I'm like, no, this is vital. This is absolutely vital that this happens.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. But it's sort of, again, I've heard that analogy. It's like the cars, every car needs an MOT, doesn't it? It's important that you do that. And it does become hard and difficult when you say, like you say, we're in a pandemic. There's so much to do. But I think, it is important. And I think as well, in the rush to return to the new normal, whatever that may be, there's a chance to really consider what parts of the new normal you want to take forward with you.
And what parts you want to leave behind as well. What some of the old habits that we might have had, just leave them where they are, and just let them be for a little while.
Absolutely.
Is there anything that you want to leave the listener with, like a little golden nugget of learning?
Well, I think just based on what we've discussed, it's, time out is essential. Invest, in yourself, and just remember that we're all doing the best that we can. Actually, I think we're all doing an amazing job throughout all of this. It's recognizing it is hard.
Yeah.
So I think that would be mine.
Yeah. I like that. To recognize what you're doing, and to recognize that everything's good enough. That there's a lot of pressure in society to reach perfection, but there is no such thing as perfection. It just does not exist, apart from on Instagram, of course.
Yeah, I think you've just got to be, I'm quite an ambitious person, like to sort of be ambitious in what we're trying to achieve, but I think you've also got to be compassionate and kind to yourself, haven't you?
Yeah, and I do. There's been points during the last 2 or 3 months that it has felt like compassion and kindness. It's really weird. It feels like compassion and kindness have been in abundance in some areas, but then in other areas it just hasn't been around. It feels like we could have done with a bit more. So for me, I feel like there's been a lot of extremes during this pandemic in terms of it's either here or it's here. It's either very, very good, or it can be completely the other way.
Yeah.
So, but compassion and kindness are just vital, and even moving forward in terms of, I said this on another podcast it's about being in spaces. Where was I earlier? And I noticed that somebody was wearing a mask, and I could see that they were a little bit anxious. So I just stepped back and just let them be. Even though I was in a rush and I wanted to get my shopping, I just wanted to get in and out. They were going through their own stuff, and it's about that. And it's about that consideration. And if we could all do that a little bit more, I think the world would just be that little bit kinder.
Yeah. It is understanding that, we're all in the same storm, aren't we? But not in the same boat. We're all experiencing different things. So.
Different vessels, same storm. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I love that analogy. Some are in massive cruise liners. Others are in little dinghies.
Paddling like hell.
Trying to get
That's me.
And that's how it feels. That's just how it feels for you. So, thank you so much for giving us your time today.
You're very welcome.
I'm absolutely sure that will resonate with a lot of people in terms of how difficult this has been for a lot of people. I'll say again, it's important that people step forward and have that conversation.
Yeah, I hope you get lots more people come forward.
Absolutely. There's a queue at the moment, so we might be doing this until Christmas. Leanne, thank you so much for being here today.
You're welcome.
So remember that we do these podcasts weekly. They have a COVID theme at the moment. Always they have a mental health theme. If you want to step on and have a chat, then you can contact me at Go Through Therapy's Facebook page, or you can contact the radio station. All of the details are online. As I always say, please, please, please be kind to yourself and be kind to everybody around you. And please take care and be safe. Thanks again, Leanne. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.